Um, doesn't really mean too much. I don't think preseason polls mean a whole lot. I think it's more indicative of, I guess, how last year finished, as opposed to this year. You look at the losses we kind of had to take in here, and it's really more indicative of how last year finished. But I guess it's a nice honor. Generally, it's Washington and Jefferson and Thomas More competing for the top spot in terms of the preseason poll. It just so happens, I guess, that we got picked first this year. Obviously, they got a great taste of what it was. We've never advanced that far as a program, winning our first regional, then having some level of success in the World Series. I mean, the goal is obviously always to win the conference, to qualify for the conference tournament, to win the conference tournament, which that's your easiest path to get to the NCAA tournament. Then from there, and I think last year showed that anything can happen. It's wide open. Oftentimes the games come down to a play here, a play there, a bounce here, a bounce there, how you're playing at that time, how you perform on that day. So yeah, I mean, I think our expectations don't really change a whole lot. They're the same as what they are every year. Just because we did lose a lot of guys, we have a lot of guys coming back as well. So hopefully we're established enough with our guys that they're ready to take the next step. Some guys whose path might have been blocked last year, I think the guys are hungry to get back to the postseason and push to get back to where we ended up last year and win another game. Obviously, experience is big. As I do this more, you see how valuable experience can be. It's tough to expect young guys to be able to come in and transition right away, not just with the transition with baseball, but being a student athlete, being on their own for the first time. There's a lot of obstacles to that kind of prevent guys to achieving at the optimal level on the baseball field, and having a bunch of guys back with the experience that maybe are more of the veteran mindset will definitely help us a lot. Well, we hope Ben will take that next step. I mean, we probably have 3, 4, 5 guys that are kind of competing maybe for that #1 spot. The conference schedule, the way it's aligned, kind of changes things this year. But I think last year's freshman class, this year's sophomores, there were a lot of capable guys last year, but they were just blocked by older guys, not just older guys, but older guys that played really well and never relinquished their job. So hopefully they took a big piece from that. Just because they didn't play as much last year, and we tell them this, without the whole unit, we wouldn't have gotten to the point we got to last year. I mean, we played 55 games in the regular season, varsity-wise, and I think we played another 18 JV games. So we got a lot of experience last year, whether it was the freshmen or seniors that played every day. And I hope, and I think, and I'm confident that will lead to them taking that next step. You tend to see the biggest steps from guys, the biggest jumps from guys from their freshman to sophomore year. And I think we're seeing some of that this year. And I think that's the biggest question mark we face. And it's not just the talent and experience, it's the work ethic. You know, Nick Vento will go down here as one of the best players we've ever had. He ran out ground balls to short like they were the last at-bat he was ever going to have in his career. Adam LaRue, Derek Helbing, on and on and on and on. Obviously Riley with the pitching staff, but the whole group last year set such a tone with what was expected. They were locked in right from the day one in the fall, and they worked hard. They set a good example. I think they made the players more accountable to each other. I think the coaches had to deal with less nonsense, I guess you would say, last year than in any other years, and that was because of how the upperclassmen and seniors went about things and went about their business. But it's going to be a really difficult class to replace, and they got to where they got to with the individual and team success because of how hard they worked. Yes, they were very good players, but not all of them were four-year players, obviously, right from the beginning, guys with eye-popping, wow talent from day one as a freshman, but they all worked. They developed the weight room. They just they busted their tails, and that's the biggest part of what we need to replace, and hopefully what we are in the process of replacing. I expect them to take on more of a leadership role. I think they got a taste of that last year. Once they became upperclassmen, it just becomes more natural, I guess, to kind of fulfill that role. We just need to have them keep progressing, put up hopefully the same numbers, and put up the numbers that they're capable of putting up, but obviously set a good example and, you know, pass down things within the program that were passed down to them when they were freshmen and sophomores, and now hopefully they'll do the same to the current freshmen and sophomores. I think it's going to be, and I say this every year, I think it's going to be a wide open race. I think one of the real underrated things about our run last year was how competitive and good our conference tournament was. I think it shows that our conference has depth. I think it shows both the run we had and the quality of teams in the conference was shown in that conference tournament and throughout the year. A lot of programs such as ourselves lost a good amount of seniors. You know, I know Waynesburg lost obviously some good guys, and Grove City lost a tremendous senior class. But it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a different landscape with 9-inning games, doubleheaders as opposed to 3-game series. I think that'll test pitching depth to some extent, the depth of the games. But I do think it'll be wide open, and I know that we've talked to our guys over and over about this. You know, there's a banner in the gym with our conference championships, and it's only represented by conference tournament championships. And I think there's one repeat year in there. 1 year where we repeated. This goes back to like 2006 and 2007. So it's challenging. We know how good Thomas More is, and we know how motivated they're going to be with their last year in the league, and we know how disappointing it is that they are leaving the league. Have the utmost respect for their coaching staff and their players, and we're going to miss them tremendously. Just so much respect towards them. So we're going to enjoy competing against them one more time, and I know they're going to be ready, chomping at the bit, kind of like we were last year. You know, I would expect the same type mentality from them, and they're going to be really good.